Welcome to episode 230, 8 examples of an unhealthy ego and what to do about it. Welcome to the Be That 1% podcast. I'm your host, James Silvas, mindset specialist and performance coach. And here on the show, I'm going to challenge you to think deeper, commit to greatness, and develop a stronger mindset. You'll hear stories from those who are living life on their terms, and you'll receive strategies that will help you level up. So the question is, are you ready to be your own 1%? Let's get started. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Be That 1% podcast. I'm your host, James Silvas, and today we are going to dive into the ego. Now, I just want to catch you guys up on what's been happening in my life. It's been a crazy 45 days, 13 states in 30 days. It's been wild. It's been wild. And it's been fun. I've learned a lot from how to travel efficiently to how to keep my energy levels high to recovery techniques, nutrition strategies that help me maintain that energy. A lot of things which I'm sure will become podcast episodes. But as I have been traveling to different teams across the country, a thing that I've been talking about and from both personal experience and from coaching my clients and that level of experience, ego has been something that we have been talking about. So many of us can get caught up in the binary thinking of ego. Some believing ego is bad, some believing ego is necessary. And what I usually talk about ego on, in my understanding, is that there's an unhealthy and a healthy way of viewing our egos. That yes, we do need them, and yes, they can be destructive. And it's a continuum of how effective and how destructive. And it's up to us to really be mindful of how we're using our ego, how we can check it, or how we can use it to be effective, to achieve our goals, and to ultimately be the versions of ourselves that we strive to be. And so in today's episode, I'm going to share with you 8 examples of what an unhealthy ego is and then what to do about it. This has been in the trainings that I've been giving over the last 30 days, and this has been one of the favorite parts of the training because we all find ourselves here, and it's really helpful to operate from a framework rather than just have our minds be so disorganized that we don't know how to label things. What frameworks do is they give us a structure in which to operate, a structure in which to compare our thinking to, and that gives us organization. That helps us better think, save time, not have to spend so much energy wrestling with things that we don't understand, and insert a framework that's helpful. So this is a framework that I have come up with that has helped me and my clients significantly. So let's jump into the first one. The first example of an unhealthy ego is someone who thinks they already know, right? I already know this. I've already read that book. I've already listened to that podcast episode. I've already done this work. Therefore, I know, right? And where the challenge is here is, yes, you may know how to do a certain level of it, but the thing about knowledge is that it's layered, very much like an onion, right? And the more you do something, the more, if you're mindful about it and intentional about it, the more you can understand about it, that you may understand, man, I understand it at level 3, but there's a level 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 with this topic. And when we lock ourselves into, I already know this, it prevents us from greater levels of awareness, information. All of that can help us make better decisions, help us share our knowledge more effectively, and also for us to continue to grow so that we don't get stagnant. When we think we know something and there's no other thing to learn about it, then we get caught in this place where there's nothing else to do regarding it. And that could be a dangerous place to be, especially if we want to continue to innovate, grow ourselves, add value in the areas that we show up to. right? So what do we do with this? Well, enter any books you read, podcasts you listen to, trainings you attend, coaching sessions that you're a part of, either with a beginner's mind, right? Pretending that you are learning this for the first time, or operating out of a curiosity mindset that allows you to attune your antenna, your learning antenna, to a different perspective. Curiosity about, I wonder what I can learn from this person. And who knows, you may learn a small fact that either reinforces what you believed before, helping you believe even more in what you do, or it can expose something that you're like, man, I didn't know it, or I didn't see it from that angle. Now that I do, I can communicate more effectively with people like that, with myself, or just use that information to help me become more efficient in the things that I do, right? So we got to learn to catch ourselves in this I already know mindset. That's the first example. The second example is pleasure over purpose. Those who operate in an unhealthy ego choose all the behaviors that feel good rather than the ones that are good for us, right? And there's this formula that I learned a long time ago, and it was short-term pain equals long-term pleasure. Short-term pleasure equals long-term pain. Basically what that means is when we constantly seek pleasure-filled behavior, like the watching of the Netflix, like the avoiding the hard conversations, pleasure meaning getting away from anything that causes us any sort of pain or discomfort, right? We want to get away from it. We want to do something else. And that means doing the easy work, taking the easy way out. And when we always choose pleasure, it robs us of the wisdom and the brilliance that comes through in the pain. The relationships that we know are strong because we've been through the pain with them. The wisdom that comes from doing the hard things that then helps us produce an identity that can handle hard things. We don't get those opportunities when we're constantly seeking pleasure. Not everything you do in your day is going to feel good. Even if you found something that you love to do and that you want to do for the rest of your life, doesn't mean that every moment is going to feel good. And if you constantly give into this, I just want to feel better, I want this pleasure, then you're not going to do the work necessary to get the goal that you want or to sustain all the hard things that you've been able to create so far. And so we really be mindful of where we're choosing pleasure over purpose. And I find that the highest performers are the ones who choose purpose over pleasure. And another way of saying that is choosing meaning over happiness. Because if happiness is what it's all about, then happiness is just another form of pleasure. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't feel happy. I think that that's really, really important for you to feel. But it's not always it's not happiness over everything. Because life happens, and there's going to be moments where you're not going to be happy, and that is okay. And that still means that you got to show up and do what you came to do. That means you still have to honor the purpose, rather than giving into, well, I don't want to do it right now, therefore I shouldn't do it, and I'm going to go do this instead. You know, when you're a leader, when you give someone your word, when you give yourself your word, that is a commitment, and that commitment needs to be fulfilled. Otherwise, we lose respect for ourselves, and then others can lose respect for us because we're not honoring the things that we say we do. All right, number 3, jealousy. Jealousy. What is jealousy? Jealousy is having hostility, bitterness, and resentfulness towards someone who has what you don't. This can show up in many different ways. In business with a promotion, maybe someone at your company got a promotion. This can show up in relationships where someone you're with is hanging out with someone or showing someone a different form of affection. It can happen with financial successes, you seeing someone having, growth in their business or signing a large client. This can happen in many different ways. But the jealousy, when we get lost in that, it puts the focus on what you don't have, which is lack, which means you operate in a lack mindset. It's not abundant, right? So you have to therefore compete. There's scarce resources, and you got to accumulate as much as you can, and it's very defensive, and it keeps you just never feeling this great feeling of like there's more to be had. It keeps the focus on someone or something else rather than the work that needs to be done. It's easy to be jealous. It's hard to work. And so, jealousy can be a form of hiding. It can be a form of justifying, well, there's only so much resources to go around and so has them, so why should I even try? Or it's just easier to focus on what other people are doing rather than what you're doing. So we need to catch ourselves when we are being jealous. If you want to take it a deep step further, you can ask yourself, what is it about them or this situation that is causing this jealousy, so you can get to the root of it. But another way that you can go about it is expressing appreciation and gratitude for that person or for that situation that's producing this jealousy. Because when you shift the focal point, the intention of I am jealous of you because you have what I don't, to I appreciate the fact that you were able to acquire this, then now we've joined forces with the thing that we want, as opposed to created two separate identities, that person and you, and the situation that you don't have. The gratitude begins to shift your focus to the abundance, the collaboration that is around you that you can't see when you're blinded by your jealousy. It can open up a dialogue with that person that then gives you the information or the resources to get to your goal faster. I know I experienced this with when I was first starting out in my coaching business, where I would watch all these coaches speaking on these stages or having a certain level of success, and I was jealous. And the more I stayed jealous, the more I isolated, the more I was in competitive mindset, meaning that I didn't want to collaborate. I didn't want to ask for help. I just brewed in my own jealousy, and it was very destructive, not just on an emotional level, but it actually disrupted my momentum and the action that I took, right? When we shift to gratitude, we start to build an abundance mindset. We start to believe that, man, if that person can do it, so can I. We may ask for help more. We may even partner up with that person, or be willing to receive feedback from that person that helps us grow, right? So we got to catch ourselves when we're falling into this jealousy-ridden behavior that stays for too long. This is a natural part of life, but just because it's natural doesn't mean it's something that's helpful long term, right? Okay, number 4, we attach ourselves to outcomes, our identities to outcomes. An unhealthy ego attaches the identity to an outcome. I am the amount of money I make. I am the good sales day or bad sales day that I had. I am fill in the blank. I am the outcome, right? And the thing about the outcome is you can't control the outcome, no matter what you do. You may play some part in it, which means you have some influence over it, but you cannot control outcomes. You cannot control how someone shows up. You cannot control how a business deal goes. You cannot control 100% what happens in your life. It's impossible, right? And when we attach our identity to outcomes, as an example, I work with a lot of sales leaders, and so the common pattern that I see is when good sales days are there, they feel on top of the world. They're the best. They made the right decision to do what they're doing. But then when they have a day where no sales happen or their expectations weren't met, now they suck. They're bad. They made the wrong choice. They shouldn't be here. Inferiority kicks in. Imposter syndrome gets activated. And what happens is their performance is like a roller coaster. It becomes very inconsistent. You're good when you're good, but you're bad when you're bad. As opposed to having your identity be rooted in something that can't be stripped away, which also comes from the internal work. When the internal is strong, the external is strong. When you rely too much on the external, then the external dictates the internal, and that's living from basically a victim mindset, which we'll get into in a minute here. But focusing on your purpose and on your process is the ultimate form of consistency. That I am what I choose to do. I am whatever I define myself as. We have that power. We have that control. And if we attach it to something that can't be stripped away, if we attach it to something that we're always in control of, such as how we show up to the process being whatever it is that you want it to be, that's where we remain consistent. That's where we can become dependable on ourselves, where others can rely on us. And we can build from there. And it doesn't have these inconsistency roller coasters. Yes, I may win, and yes, I may lose, but it doesn't change who I am. Big difference. Number 5, gossip. Pretty self-explanatory here. When you focus on gossip, anything form of gossip, it's you focusing on things that you can't control. This is a waste of time and energy. Time and energy that you can put towards something else to build and become better. So here you just have to stop these types of conversations. If you're having a conversation about a person who isn't in the room and it is not in a positive light, that conversation needs to stop. Whether it's you stepping in and being like, hey, we got to shift the conversation, or it's you just minimizing yourself from that person because that's all they do. If they're doing it with you about someone else, they're probably doing it about you with somebody else, right? So we got to catch ourselves here and just say our time and our energy is too sacred to be spending it on things that we can't control. So, X-nay. Number 6, blame. Blaming a situation, a person, an environment, the country, the president, anything. When you blame something or someone else for your situation, you automatically take the victim role, which means you're powerless to do anything to change what it is that you're blaming someone or something else for. It keeps you stuck in the same patterns so that you continue to get the same results that you don't want. And you may, hope for better days, but better days will never come because you're not going to do anything about it because it's not in your control. You've already given that control. You already outsourced that power to the person, to the situation. So what do? We take back control of our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions because that's the only way to live in our own power so that we become the creator of our own reality. By choosing the meaning, by choosing how we're going to show up, by choosing who we associate with, what we perceive, that's all within our grasp. We can't do that when we're playing victim. We can't create and blame. Blaming is outsourcing your power. Taking back control is taking back your power, right? So we got to make sure that we check ourselves here and we're not playing the blame game. Number 7. Use comparison as inspiration and creativity, not for inferiority and or inaction, right? It's natural to compare. We do it all the time. And there's effective ways to compare, which I'll say for another episode. But the main point here is that since we do compare, and people are like, I shouldn't compare myself to anyone else. Yeah, you're right. But human nature is that you're going to. So if you are, compare and use that as inspiration. Man, that person is doing it this way. That's actually pretty cool. I never saw it like that. And because you entertain that perspective, you may add flavors to your style that could enhance it. When you use it as inspiration, you're like, man, I love the fact that this person is going for that and that they're having success so quickly. There's got to be something there that I can use. Now you use that as an ally as opposed to a foe, an enemy, that then puts you in an inferior role, making them better because they have the thing that you don't, or they're going faster than you, or whatever the story is that you're creating, which then leads to inaction, meaning you don't do anything. So if we're going to compare, let's compare intelligently, right? And that's one way to do it. And the last is entitlement. Entitlement. What happened yesterday was yesterday. I've caught myself in this, many times. I'll just use an example of relationship with Amanda, right? Times where I've been super romantic. And it's almost like and I didn't think about this at the time, but when I think about my behavior and I look back at it, this kind of like fell into this umbrella. Is like I am so romantic with Amanda at times, and then I'm like, oh, this buys me X amount of time, right? I'm not thinking about that exactly in the moment, but that's sort of what my behavior was like. Is like I'm entitled to this type of love now because I did X, Y, and Z, or I'm entitled to this amount of pay because of what I've done in the past. And yes, we're not discounting the actions that you took in the past, but when you live from the past, meaning you're thinking about so much about what you did as opposed to what you need to do now, we can just live off of the glory days. And that's not how we continue to grow. That's not how we're going to innovate. That's not how we're going to continue to, refine who we are as people. Entitlement leads to complacency. If I become entitled in my relationship, then I'm not going to do the things that got it to a place that I'm happy where it is. If I get entitled at my company, then I may not pick up on mistakes that are made because I'm so focused on who I think I am based on what I've done as opposed to who I am by what I did today. And it's a big shift, right? And when we lose the entitlement and we say, today is a new day and I'm going to focus on being my best today and whatever that means, then we keep that edge. We keep that level of freshness going on. And that's ultimately how we sustain the things that we create, whether it be a relationship, a business, a skill set, you name it. So just saying, let the past be the past, honor it, appreciate it, accept that it did happen, but then also release that and say, hey, today is a new day. Right now is a new moment. Let me squeeze as much as I can from it. And if I continue that mindset, my future is going to be, continue to grow and blossom the way that I want it to. So these are 8 examples of what an unhealthy ego is and ways to combat that. So if you are thinking about someone specifically with any of these 8 examples, please send this episode to them and say, hey, check this out. This is something we've been talking about, or I think you'll really like number 4, or I found this really helpful. I think you will too. Help me get this word out. I know so many of us, myself included, and just the clients that I've been able to serve have grown so much from this content. So if you know someone, please help me spread the word. I would be extremely grateful. And as always, thank you for tuning into these episodes, for being a part of the 1% community, for continuing to support me and be there so that I can create content for you. And also feel free to send me emails or DMs on content that you want me to dive into. I'm more than happy to start creating episodes like that. So, but I'm thinking about you all. I hope that you have a fantastic week, and I will talk to you soon. All right? Go out there, be your own 1%. Until next time.